Raiders Nation, buckle up, because things are starting to heat up in Las Vegas. The rumor mill is spinning faster than ever, and once again, all eyes are on Jacoby Myers. Every season we talk about trades, and most of the time, nothing really happens, right? But this year feels different. Across the league, moves are already being made, and with the trade deadline coming up on November 4th, teams are starting to show their cards. Deadlines make deals happen, and for the Raiders, there's a real decision to make about whether to hold onto one of their top offensive weapons or cash in while his value is high. Let's be real. The Raiders are sitting at 2 wins and 4 losses, and it's not the kind of 2 and 4 that gives anyone confidence. The energy around the locker room feels uncertain. Fans can sense it. Players can feel it. This team just doesn't look convinced about the direction it's heading. Even when they managed to scrape out a win against Tennessee, it didn't feel like a win worth celebrating. The vibe from Raider Nation that week was more disappointment than relief. And that tells you everything you need to know about where this team stands right now. Jacoby Myers has become the center of all this noise, and not just because of his play on the field. Let's not forget, earlier this year, before the season even kicked off, he asked to be traded. That alone should tell you there's something going on behind the scenes. Sure, the Raiders said no at the time. They wanted him to stay. But the reality is that Myers is in the final year of his deal, and the front office has made it pretty clear they're not planning to match the kind of contract numbers his camp is asking for. Word around the league is that Myers and his agent were hoping for something north of $17 to $18 million per year. The Raiders aren't even close to that number. So what happens now? If we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, the writing might already be on the wall. The Raiders didn't extend Jacoby Myers. Instead, they went into the 2025 draft and grabbed 2 young wide receivers, Jack Beck in the 2nd round and Dante Thornton Jr. in the 4th. That move alone says a lot. It's like the team is quietly preparing for life after Myers, whether they admit it publicly or not. Those picks don't happen by accident. They're setting up a new core, and as much as fans love Jacoby, sometimes actions speak louder than words. Now, if you're the Raiders front office, you're stuck between 2 very different paths. On one hand, you can trade Myers now and get a decent return, maybe a 3rd-round pick, maybe even a late 2nd if a desperate team comes calling. On the other hand, you could hold on to him, let him walk in free agency, and possibly get a compensatory pick next year. And considering that kind of comp pick would probably land around the 4th round, the question becomes, is the difference between a 3rd and a 4th really worth tearing up your offense midseason? It's not an easy call, because when you look at how this roster is built, Myers is one of the few players who consistently produces. If you move him, you risk taking a step back in a season that's already hanging by a thread. And more importantly, what message does that send to Geno Smith, to Chip Kelly, and to the rest of the locker room? The Raiders invested heavily in their new quarterback and offensive coordinator this offseason. They paid those guys to build a system that works. How do you expect them to succeed if you strip away their most reliable receiver halfway through the year? The chemistry between Myers and Geno has been one of the few bright spots in an otherwise rocky season. You take that away, and suddenly the offense loses its rhythm. The timing breaks down, the playbook shrinks, and confidence starts to crumble. Sure, a trade might bring a draft pick, but draft picks don't catch passes on 3rd and long. Draft picks don't make clutch plays when the game is on the line. Myers does. Of course, the flip side is that his value may never be higher. Around the league, there are plenty of teams desperate for a receiver right now. The Buffalo Bills are starving for help after that Monday night disaster. The Patriots could be interested, and yes, the connection between Myers and Josh McDaniels is still there. The Giants are always in the market for a reliable target. The Commanders and Buccaneers have also been mentioned in conversations. In fact, sources say the Buccaneers might be the most aggressive team in pursuit of Myers, especially with their receiving core banged up. That's a team to watch closely. Now, even though Tampa Bay is the only franchise confirmed to have contacted Las Vegas, it wouldn't be surprising if other teams are quietly checking in. That's how the NFL works. Every front office does its homework. Every team looks at a player like Myers and sees a dependable, experienced wideout who can instantly improve their offense. Whether the Raiders admit it or not, that's what makes this decision so complicated. Because here's the truth. The Raiders don't just need to think about this season. They need to think about the long-term direction of the franchise. Are they rebuilding or trying to compete right now? You can't have it both ways. If they're truly rebuilding, then trading Myers makes sense. Stack draft picks, reset the cap space, and build for the future. But if they still believe they can turn things around, if they think a win over Kansas City could reignite the fire, then you keep him and ride it out. It's a razor-thin line. Right now, I'd say it's 51% that they keep him and 49% that they trade him. Basically a coin flip. It all depends on the offer that lands on the table. If a team comes in waving a third-round pick or better, I think the Raiders pull the trigger. But if the market is quiet and the offers are weak, there's no reason to rush it. There's also a financial angle to this. If Myers walks in free agency next year and signs a big contract somewhere else, the Raiders would receive that compensatory fourth-rounder anyway. So, trading him now for a similar return doesn't exactly move the needle. Why disrupt your locker room and make your offense weaker for a pick that you could have gotten naturally at the end of the season? That logic alone might keep him in silver and black through the deadline. Still, nothing is guaranteed. NFL front offices are unpredictable, especially around deadline week. And as much as the Raiders want to show loyalty to their core guys, loyalty doesn't always win games. Winning does. And right now, Las Vegas has to find a way to win, not just on the field, but in how they manage this roster. If they decide to keep Myers, it'll be because they see him as essential to Geno Smith's development and to maintaining some sense of stability in an offense that's still finding its identity under Chip Kelly. But if they trade him, it'll be a sign that this team is ready to reset again. Another rebuild, another attempt to start fresh. And if that's the case, Raider Nation better buckle in for another roller coaster. Because while everyone's talking about what the Raiders might sell, there's also talk about who they could buy. Reports have linked the team to several players around the league, guys who could fill holes on both sides of the ball. Whether it's a veteran receiver like Tyler Lockett, a defensive piece like Kyle Duggar or Roger McCreary, or even a dream target like cornerback Reek Woolen, the Raiders are clearly exploring every possibility. But before any of that happens, they've got to make one big decision. What's the future of Jacoby Myers in Las Vegas? Will they double down and keep him as part of the foundation, or send him off for draft capital and start building again from scratch? The clock is ticking toward November 4th, and every hour that passes brings the Raiders closer to a moment that could define the rest of their season, maybe even the next few years. The truth is, there's no easy answer. Fans are divided, the locker room is restless, and the front office is weighing the risks. One move could either spark a turnaround or push the franchise deeper into uncertainty. But whatever happens, you can bet one thing. The Raiders' next decision won't go unnoticed across the NFL. So, while the Raiders continue to weigh what to do with Jacoby Myers, the conversation around the league is already shifting toward what kind of players they might actually bring in. It's not just about selling anymore. It's about rebalancing the roster. Because even if Las Vegas decides to hold on to Myers, they still have a long list of holes that need to be addressed, especially on the defensive side. The truth is that this team, as it stands, isn't complete. And the trade deadline could be a rare opportunity to plug some of those gaps without waiting for the next offseason. Around the league, a few names keep coming up when people talk about potential fits for the Raiders. Guys like Tyler Lockett, Kyle Duggar, Roger McCreary, and Reek Woolen have all been mentioned. And while some of those names might sound like long shots, they all make sense in one way or another when you really break it down. Let's start with the offense. If Myers does get moved, the Raiders will need someone who can step in right away. Not a rookie, not a developmental project, but a player who already understands the rhythm of the league and can work with Geno Smith from day one. That's why someone like Tyler Lockett makes sense. Now, on the surface, that idea might sound crazy. Why would Las Vegas go after a veteran wideout like Lockett when they're already in the middle of a shaky season? But when you look closer, it actually adds up. The connection between Lockett and Geno Smith goes back years. They've built chemistry, timing, and trust, the kind of bond that takes time to form. Bringing in Lockett would give Geno a familiar face, a reliable route runner who can help keep the offense on schedule while the younger receivers develop. It wouldn't be about making a playoff push. It'd be about keeping the offense functional and giving the quarterback a chance to grow in this system. If the Raiders want to address the defense instead, that's where things get really interesting. There's been a lot of noise about Kyle Duggar out of New England. He's a physical safety who plays with an edge, the kind of player who fits perfectly into the type of defense that Pete Carroll loves to build. Duggar is strong in run support, can blitz when needed, and has the versatility to drop back in coverage. The Raiders have been struggling in the secondary, especially at free safety, where Isaiah Polamau has had a rough go of it. A player like Duggar would instantly stabilize that back end. The challenge, of course, is the contract. New England isn't interested in eating much of it, and the Raiders aren't exactly swimming in cap space either. So while it's a fit on the field, the money side could complicate things. Another player that could make sense is Roger McCreary from Tennessee. Now, this one's intriguing because McCreary is a nickel corner who's quietly been one of the Titans' better defenders. He's young, quick, and has a knack for making plays inside the hash marks. And let's be honest, the Raiders' secondary needs help everywhere. The depth is thin, and the starters have been inconsistent at best. Adding a player like McCreary would give them flexibility, allowing Darren Porter and Eric Stokes to focus on the outside while McCreary locks down the slot. It's the kind of move that wouldn't just patch a hole, but actually strengthen the overall structure of the defense. But the name that really has fans buzzing is Reek Woolen. If there's one player that screams Pete Carroll prototype, it's him. Tall, long, fast, and physical. He's the exact type of corner Carroll has loved throughout his coaching career. And while a trade for Woolen might sound like a fantasy, there's a logic to it. The Raiders' defense needs a player who can redefine how opponents attack them. A corner like Woolen changes your coverage schemes, allows your safeties to play more aggressively, and gives your defensive front more time to get home. If there's any chance of landing him, even if it costs a future pick, it's the kind of swing that could reshape this defense for years to come. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are getting louder in the desert, and they all point toward a massive move in the trenches. Multiple sources close to the Raiders organization hint that offensive lineman Mike Onwenu could be the next big name headed to Las Vegas. While there's been no official confirmation, insiders describe the deal as imminent, calling Onwenu the final brick in what the team hopes will become an impenetrable wall on the right side of the line. If true, this would be one of the most significant free agent pickups for the Raiders in recent memory. Onwenu, known across the league for his raw power, versatility, and near-immovable stance in pass protection, has been a cornerstone of New England's offensive front. Bringing that kind of stability to the Raiders could completely reshape their offensive identity. The timing of the rumor has fans buzzing. After years of inconsistency in the trenches, Las Vegas seems intent on giving its next quarterback, whoever that may be, the kind of protection every play caller dreams about. It feels like the Raiders are finally getting serious about dominating the line of scrimmage. One AFC scout was overheard saying, if they land on Onwenu, that right side becomes a nightmare for defenses. Social media, of course, has erupted. Raiders Nation forums are filled with memes of a giant wall rising in Allegiant Stadium, and one viral post dubbed the potential signing the Silver and Black Fortress. Even rival fans admit that pairing Onwenu with the Raiders' current offensive line core could instantly elevate the unit into top 5 territory. Still, with no press release or official announcement, this remains firmly in the rumor mill, but the smoke is thick. When asked for comment, a Raiders spokesperson offered the classic no comment on ongoing negotiations, which only added fuel to the fire. Whether this turns into a full-blown signing or remains off-season speculation, one thing is certain. The Raiders' right side might soon be the most feared stretch of turf in the NFL. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.